Catus, Maximus here, this time with a review of the Kubey Vagrant Everyday Carry Pocket Knife. This is a promotional product, just like that other Kubey knife, actually. They had given me the promo offer, and I said, I'll do my research, and actually, you know, it's a Chinese knife company, but it's reasonably well respected, and so I decided to take some a free knife. I'd actually selected this one first. They sent me this one. They're actually pretty cool about it, and they actually just sent me this one too, so might as well review the first one. I do videos every day. Anyway, this is their Vagrant. This is their everyday carry style. And no thumb stud. Instead, they use this chamfered area for your finger to get a little bit of a grip. And actually, I'm kind of liking that style, even though, you know, they do remove quite a bit of material in the blade. It does use ball bearings for the thrust washers, so it does open pretty smoothly. Like so. The little ball detent is actually a ball bearing pressed into the liner, not just a stamped bump in the liner. Good alignment. The liner is not moving all the way over. That's pretty good. $60 MSRP, but you can certainly find them for a little bit better deal. They do use machined stainless steel hinge pin. This is an AUS 10 steel blade, which is not too bad. AUS 10 steel is like a more durable. The advertised average Rockwell hardness of 58 to 60. And something I will give them credit for is, and this is like some thin receipt paper here, pretty decent edge on that. They do include a customer service card. Obviously, it can cut that pretty well too. Let me clean up my mess. And I have reviewed a fair number of knives on my channel, but it's mainly just because I do videos every day and try to cover as much stuff as possible. So anyway, I had liked this, what they call the Drake, but it is a bit large and a bit thick. It's a pretty nice knife with the billet pocket clip. But this one I think is much more realistic as far as an everyday carry. It's a more of a normal 3-inch blade. As we can see, well, from the edge of the hilt to the tip, come on now, we're actually looking at 3¼ inches as far as actual blade. Oh, it's actually still pretty good because this is about the same height as that. It does have a little bit of a choil, this undercut area, so it makes it easier to actually sharpen the whole blade, which I do appreciate. G10 fiber composite handle, nice little stainless steel spacers in there. Still uses a titanium belt clip, it's just not a billet one like the slightly more expensive unit. And overall not a bad shape. And another thing I wanted to mention is, surprisingly enough, if you look at like the depth of the chamfer on both sides here, we look at where this chamfer on the top of the blade stops. See how even that is? See how even it is up there? If we look at the centering of the grind and the body of the piece of material, really good. So there's actually a surprising level of quality control going on with these. Even though it's a Chinese company, it's not one that's out to make crud products. They're actually attempting to compete with some bigger boys. And one of the things, that evidence of that is, if we look at the evenness of the grind on the blade, both sides, you can just see that as the reflection goes across. Surprisingly good grind. They really tried pretty hard on this. Obviously, it's a lot thinner than this unit and much easier to deal with. Actually, it's probably easier to do it this way. As we can see, this with the belt clip is definitely quite a bit thinner, almost a whole belt clip thinner. My current EDC, which is the CRKT home front, we can still see that this unit, if we measure that up, is still just, well, I'll do it this way, still just a little bit thicker, and it's actually not so much the width, but the breadth, or, excuse me, it's not so much the breadth, but it's the thickness or width of the knife that you notice more in your pocket. But this is certainly better than the Drake as far as using as an everyday carry. I do like the fact that it is a nice belt clip. You can see the loop goes right to the very end of the knife. On this particular unit, it can be moved to either side, so this is good for left or right-handed people. The reason that's important is because if you have a knife like this, say with only the belt clip on it, say a right-handed person style, then you're putting this in your left pocket. That means the blade can open into the exposed area inside your pocket, and that can be bad. So being able to move the clip to this side means that the blade, since it's going into the back corner of your pocket, now is kind of held closed, even though it has a strong detent. It's just a safety thing. Not a lot else to say about this little Vagrant. It's a nice little... I'm never any good at flicking these open like that. Some people are super good at it. Overall, not a bad knife. And to tell you the truth, I say Chinese knife, but heck, this CRKT I think is either Taiwanese or Chinese. A lot of the sub-$100 knives of traditional American and other well-respected brands, Gerber, Kershaw, etc., are made overseas. Only their expensive ones are still made domestically, so kind of surprised by Kubey knife. I'm also surprised when I go online, they have like way too many models. They need to actually tone it down just a little bit. But other than that, they're certainly competitive little pocket knives. They are made pretty well. I mean, if we take a look at the stiffness, I mean, that, you could stand on that. That's actually surprisingly strong. Almost forgot to mention a couple things about this. One, we can see that the reflection is even on this. This is not hollow ground. This is known as flat ground, so you get a little bit more strength. If you're cutting deep, it offers a little bit more resistance, but the convex is, or the converse is, that it's a bit stronger. And the other thing I forgot to mention is you can see that they do skeletonize the liner inside there, just to help reduce a little bit of weight. And then, of course, the last detail is if we look at the tip, they actually have a fair amount of meat up there. So obviously it's not the strongest tip in the world, but they do a pretty reasonable grind just to make sure that if you're poking through stuff, trying to get into packaging or something like that, that it'll hold up. And they have really good finish, really good quality control. I guess the only real criticism is maybe just a little bit more beveling. You know, that is kind of a sharp corner in certain situations. You may be pressing, and that sharp corner could poke in your hand a little bit. And I'd like to see some jimping, which is these corrugations. I like to see some on the body there, just so you have just a bit better area for your thumb, or a little bit more traction for your thumb. But besides that, not a lot else to say. Really, certainly a reasonable little pocket knife. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. Oh, I almost forgot I had my calipers out here. We should measure a couple things here. Seems that other Kubey knives only had a 3mm blade, which is about 1/8 of an inch. This one's actually slightly better. It's 3.1 millimeters. And then, of course, the thickness of the body, a little over 13 millimeters. Let's move that over to inches. 526, so it's just a little bit over half an inch thick, which is still not too bad. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.